Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to Zilla Cabs. So today we're looking at something that comes up as a question quite often actually when people are ordering cabs, and that's looking at whether we should go for an open back or a closed back. So we've had a really cool order through for an oversized 4x12. We've got the purple croc Tolex on here with a basket weave grille, which I think looks really cool paired together, a really unique look. And the customer's actually gone for having both backs here, so they've got a closed back and an open back, which they can swap round as they like. And I thought it'd just be really interesting to take it into the studio here to put some mics on the cab and record both setups to see how it actually affects the recorded tone. So firstly, what are our expectations with the two different options for open or closed back? Well, typically with a closed back, you tend to get more emphasis in the low end, so you get a little bit more directionality, a little bit of a stronger bottom end. I realise these are words that are just trying to describe sounds, and that's not always a useful way of trying to interpret things. But yeah, typically it's about the punchiness in the low end for me. With an open back cab, the dynamic content is a little bit more lively sometimes. It gives the effect of actually filling the room. You lose a little bit of that directionality in the low end, but sometimes what you lose there can be added to spreading the sound around the room. Now, when I think of open back cabs, I often think of the way that they have been derived from Fender combos, really. I think that's kind of where it all stems from, the sound that we think of. It comes from those old Fender combos where the back had to be open, really, because the chassis in there with the valves, and it just makes for an easier construction method. And as often happens with the history of guitar, those things become sounds that we recognize and things that we really like, and they get applied to certain styles. So yeah, when I think of open back cabs, I think of those playing styles that go along with sort of Fender combos, maybe more country playing, blues playing, more the cleaner kind of styles. So with that in mind, it's a little less usual to see an open back 4x12, because typically 4x12s come from the more sort of martial side of things. The more sort of rock styles of playing, more high gain, I guess. And definitely when it gets really high gain, you can, on records, it's usually a 4x12 with a closed back. So for the setup today, I'm using my Mesa Boogie stiletto with my Pori Smith mirror, playing through a bunch of different pedals on the pedal board as usual. On the way in, you heard me playing the cab with its open back. So we haven't just taken the back panel off. I'll show you some shots of it, but it's actually got an oval sort of cutout in the in the back panel, which gives it a really nice look. So yeah, on the way in, you heard me playing with that open back, but now let's hear what it sounds like with the closed back. Cool, so I'm really enjoying the sound of this cab. It's as I say, it's an oversized 4x12, so it's slightly taller than our regular standard 4x12, which just, again, helps to add a little bit of that low end and just really give a really big sort of rock guitar sound. And a cab this size has plenty of room for all the low notes to breathe and have space to bloom out. And it's just a really satisfying tone to play. So some of the gain sounds are coming from the amp itself, and some of them are coming from the pedals. And yeah, I think it handled everything really well with a closed back. So it's worth mentioning that the customer's gone for a really cool mixture of speakers as well. They've gone for Celestion Gold Alnico speakers mixed with Celestion Vintage 30s in an X pattern. The X pattern is really useful for just allowing you to perceive a full blend of the way the speakers mix together. So it basically means you get a pair of speakers like that and another pair like that, if that makes sense. So yeah, you're not getting just one side of Celestion Golds and one side of Vintage 30s. You're getting a good blend of both of them. Okay, let's move on to the open back and see how that sounds. So I tried to play some similar stuff stylistically there to just for you to be able to hear how they sound in similar settings against each other. I haven't listened to the recordings yet, so I don't yet know how well it's coming across on the recordings. But for me, it is conveying those little differences that I would expect to find between an open back and a closed back. So a little bit less directionality in the low end with the open back. Certainly sat next to the cab, there's much more spread in the room. The cab is sat a little bit more forward in the room than we usually have it. It's just allowing some of the dimension of the sound to spread out through the back and bounce off the back wall and things like that. So in the room, it's giving a really 3D spread of sound. Now, as for any preferences and any perceived differences, that's for you guys to comment on. I want to hear that in the comment section below. Let me know which one you preferred, which things you noticed in the sounds, any little surprises along the way. I'd love to hear about that in the comment section. So thanks very much for watching. As usual, if you like this sort of stuff, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. Give the video a thumbs up, and we'll catch you in another video very soon. Cheers.